Well, hello, Leeds United fans. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor. We're back here on One Leeds. We're back here at One Leeds HQ as well. We're not in the car. We're not filming on the gimbally sort of thing. We're back here where we normally are in the studio. We're not at home. We're back here on the red side of the Pennines, the dirty side of the Pennines. Talking about Leeds United and Sheffield United tomorrow night. We've got one of Hamface's disciples on. It's Jimmy from the Blades Ramble. Jimmy's an absolutely fantastic lad, cracking Sheffield United fan channel. I would recommend you all go and check Jimmy out as well. His link will be in the description below. Make sure you do that. We're here talking about the Blades. We're here talking about Leeds United as we get into, in my opinion, the biggest game of the season. Huge game for Leeds United. I think it's probably similar for Sheffield United. We're going to be getting into the tactical insights, who to watch out for, score predictions, main men on both sides, injury news. And guys, I need you to like the video, share the content as well. And welcome. I'm sure there's some Blades fans in here as well, of which I'm sure I am very, very popular as well. Let's get into a few of your comments before we get Jimmy in. Morning, Connor. Gab's back in the building. Yeah, we'll get into that, mate. That's why we've got a Sheffield United fan on to tell us. Scott's in the building. Danny's in the building. And Daniel's in the building as well. And without any further ado, the man with the Sheffield United plan, Jimmy. How we doing, mate? All good?
All good, mate. I've got to pull you on that ham face thing. What is that all about? It's disrespecting the Messiah like that. It's
been a year thing. It's been years upon years upon years, mate. I think it all went back to the Muppets from Leeds. I didn't mind him taking the mick out of Bamford. That's fine. But the Muppets from Leeds, he took it too far then, Jimmy.
To be honest, he's pulled back slightly on that on this morning's presser, actually. He sort of said, maybe I went a step too far, but we're a few deep and we just got promoted. So he's sort of eased off on it a little bit. So I get it, mate. I get it. It's all part of the banter, innit? So
I'll tell you what, Jim, that's probably a good place to start, mate. Obviously, I've just mentioned there the injury news. I've just mentioned the fixtures and how important this game is as well, yada, yada, yada. What's he said in his press conference then, mate? What's been uttered?
He's basically same as you've built it up there, biggest game of the season. A lot of it was around George Baldock, a lot of the press conference, obviously, because it's first time he's spoken live about it. He did an interview with the club. Obviously, it's affected everybody at the club. I won't dwell on that too much, but they were asking whether that'd play a part largely. He thinks it's been a horrible situation, but obviously the team need to have a balanced approach to this game. You can't go in too full-bodied about it. You can't go in too low about it. You've just got to. It's back to business. Essentially, is what he will sort of leaning towards. He's also sort of said it's biggest game of our season. George would be up for this fight as much as anybody. It's not really a fierce rivalry. It's a Yorkshire derby, but it's not a Man U Liverpool. It's not a Leeds Man U. It's not a Sheffield United Sheff Wednesday fixture. Yeah. I think basically I was surprised to hear him frame it like this, but it's right if we're honest. He thinks historically we've been in your shadow a little bit, with you being a one club city. If we were a one club city, it might be slightly different. We might be on a similar playing field, but historically you are a powerhouse in English football, and we're not at the minute. We're striving to be. And for the last few seasons, we've been on a fairly even keel. So it's going to be an interesting game. Always a big game going to Ellen Road. It's the one that we all look out for at the beginning of the season. And yeah, toughest test yet. That's how I badged my stream up yesterday, mate. 'Cause it is. I know you've introduced it as your toughest challenge because of the way we're playing. But yeah, I'm really excited for it, to be honest. Really excited.
Yeah, it's always a blockbuster, innit? It always feels like it. To be honest, Jim, I didn't realise we've had a bit of a chat about it on a few of the streams, but I had a quick look back at sort of the last 4 or 5 games. I didn't realise we'd done that well. I think it's like 3 out of the last 4 we've beaten you. Obviously, that other game was the Basham the Basham one at Ellen Road, which we all remember. Basham arriving. I know you guys certainly remember it. You had T-shirts and mugs and all that made out of that, didn't you, Jim?
Mate, I were in Leeds End for that.
Oh.
So it were an absolute nightmare for me. I was sitting on my hands and trying not, and everybody knew. They must have known because I would. We were one of them, really. But yeah, madness, absolute madness.
it always feels quite tight, doesn't it? I think like there's a 2-1 in there. There's a 1-0 to us at Bramall Lane. I think there was a 1, obviously the Basham 1-0. You beat us at Ellen Road. It always feels tight, and I think with Sheffield United, you look at the side and you think there's a lot of good players in there, and there's been a lot of questions, Jim, about the depth of Sheffield United and maybe the overall squad of Leeds United. You know, when you've got the likes of Solomon, Joe Peru, others on the bench. You know, Joe Peru. Well, wanted him, didn't he?
Never heard of him.
And yeah, it feels like we've got a bit of depth there. Do you sort of subscribe to that? I know Brooks has done quite well earlier on the season for you, and he's a bit of a bench option. But how do you see the sort of squads comparing?
Yeah, Wilder mentioned again this morning he thinks you've got the best squad in the league, and I don't think that weren't like laying the foundation for, so if they beat us, the blah blah blah. But he was basically saying
like
that you've done a good job in early excuses, maybe so. But I think a lot has been made of our squad depth, and I've been part of that crowd in terms of I think our first 11 is as good as anybody in this league, and there's not many that I would change with. You guys are obviously in that conversation. There's a couple of Burnley players that neither of us have probably mind. But other than that, I think us two are probably, certainly on paper, two of the strongest 11s out there. The issue was when you get past the 11 and the squad depth like you're talking about. But I've had this conversation back and forth with some of our subscribers and things like that. And the more we talk about it, the more we might not have the bodies in terms of 18 really strong players, but we have got 14 or 15 adaptable players. So if we haven't got a right back available, Jamie Shackleton can come in and do that. I know you know Shaq more than anything, and it's not somebody you want to rely on particularly, but can do a job if needed. We've got Sidi Peck to come in if Vinny Sousa's not available. Andre Brooks can play a couple of positions. Callum O'Hare can play a couple of positions. Gus Hamer. We've got Sam McCallum now who's coming for Harrison Burrows for the Luton game. Did really well. Harrison Burrows will likely come back in for this game. Obviously, he saved some players for this game. There's no doubt about it.
The absolute git.
He'll dress it up however he wants, but Gus Hamer were on a yellow card, which I'm sure you guys know about. And he benched Gus Hamer for Luton. We still beat Luton. So that shows we have got a bit of squad depth about us. But you'll be facing our best 11, I think, come tomorrow night. So cannot wait, mate. Cannot wait.
And you do wonder as well, like I was just thinking this when you were talking then, it doesn't really happen, does it, when you look at 18 and how much of that 18 does a team really use? You don't. It's the majority of it is your 14 and your 15, isn't it? So I do think it's blown out of proportion really when you're going man for man on the subs bench.
Yeah, you always want one for every position, two for every position, don't you? You want a backup in every single position, but you're never going to have. I mean, for years, it were a luxury position for us when we played three at the back. Right wing back was our luxury position. We had George Baldock and Jayden Bogle battling it out for 3 or 4 seasons. Everywhere else on the pitch, you don't have that level of competition. You can't expect to. We're not. That's your top end Premier League clubs that have that sort of competition in those places. Now we rightly have players like Sam McCallum can come in if Harrison Burrows drops out. It's going to be Jack Robinson coming in if Anel drops out, that sort of thing. And that's a little bit of a drop off. You've got to expect these things, aren't you, in Championship? You can't be like you've got a few players out now. You're not going to directly replace Ampadu. You're going to bring in whatever's the next best thing to Ampadu because there's a reason he's a starter, isn't it? It's not like we've all got 18, 19 above average players because it just doesn't happen like that, does it?
What have you made of him, Jimmy? Because that must have been a bit of a weird one. Because I remember when we got him in, and there's a few Sheffield United fans a little bit like, when he wasn't that great for us, all this sort of stuff. But honestly, Jimmy, he is honestly the first name on the team sheet when he's fit every single week. He's been combative. He's brilliant on the ball, in my opinion. Very underrated. He's a captain. Even from a Leeds perspective, when I think we played you in the Premier League and he was part of a back three, he didn't really come to the fore, did he? Are you quite surprised by how he sort of took off at Leeds?
Yeah, I am. And just going off my previous impression of him, which is out of date, admittedly. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as is made out. However, obviously, he's had a couple of years to come on. You see him week in, week out. And obviously not everybody's going to be wrong about a 2-year-old out of date opinion. When he played for us, it was nowhere near the finished article, very raw. We didn't play him in his best position. He's not a centre half. And you guys, he can do a job there. He can do a job, which he was doing for us, but we're in Premier League at that time. And it was too early for him. You've got him now as this sort of a bit of a organizer in the middle, where he sort of breaks up the play a little bit. I don't know whether that's still what he's doing. I mean, I appreciate he's going to be out anyway, isn't he? But I'm surprised that you value him as highly as you do. However, there's got to be some basis to it. I understand that. So it's not just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it's not justified praise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, he seems to have just, like, I don't know, taken it upon himself. Maybe it's because we had a bit of turmoil towards the start of last season. You know, we had 10, 11, 12 players leaving the club, and he came in and was just that solid option in the middle of the park, and bit of a leader as well immediately. And I think he was only 22. So
it don't strike me as a leader, though. Is it more plays by example than he's vocal?
No, he is now, Jim. Yeah, when you watch him, he's sort of barking orders a little bit. And I don't know whether or not, because I was thinking about that Sheffield United side actually, and maybe there was a few more experienced bodies in there when he was playing, especially in the Premier League. And obviously he was a little bit younger, and you wonder if he was a bit not intimidated as such, but coming into it and thinking, oh, I can't really say this, I can't really say that. I think when he came into this Leeds side last year, you know, the likes of Rutter, Archie Gray, Somerville, Nonto, they're all kids, mate. Yeah. So he came in and maybe he just took that upon himself to think, do you know what? It's quite unique. This I'm gonna thrive.
He's got a good pedigree as well, hasn't he? Coming from Chelsea.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason as well. Chelsea kept holding him for years, didn't they? Kept sending him out on loan, and we know there's that Chelsea loan bust, don't we? But they kept him for years, and I think they maybe saw something there, and we had to pay a pretty penny to get him out of there. But he's been all worth it. And we have to talk about the sore topic, which I'm not having, Jimmy. I'm not having you lot taking back on this. Now, when we were originally in for Mr. Bogle, I was seeing there's no way they're going to get him. There's no way Sheffield United are going to let him go.
You can have him. You can have him.
And suddenly he's the worst defender. He's never been able to defend in all of his life. He's only good going forward. I mean, to be honest, mate, he had a bit of a tough start. Portsmouth, he wasn't good. I think he gave away a penalty, to be fair. And then
we saw it, mate. We saw it. We saw it.
and then about, to be fair, Sheffield, it was quite interestingly as well. Sheffield Wednesday, he put in one of not just his performances, but it was a general performance of the season. He was unbelievable defensively and getting forward. And since then, mate, he's not really looked back. And I think obviously this is going to be his biggest test really against one that probably hammering it on that left. But it feels like it's been. I'll be honest, mate. I'm pretty happy with the buy. I mean, what are your thoughts?
It's a little bit in jest. I think it hurt us a little bit. He got a sniff of interest from Leeds and he wanted to go. I mean, that's the only transfer you've beat us to this season. I'll have to say that. I'll have to lay that marker down. But yeah, you were offering more money from what I understand. He may have seen at that time we've had 20 players leave the club in the summer and we hadn't even begun the rebuild. So he's leaving it as one of our lowest points to join one of our rivals, promotion rivals in the division. So it was bitter and it sort of stung a little bit. Didn't want to sign a new deal with us. You got a great price for him because he were in last 12 months of his deal. But I mean,
felt like it knocked off Wilder a bit as well.
Oh, not a bit. No, you could tell. And he's all you have to do is throw that little pebble in, and he can bite, can't he? But it's if you're playing a back three, he's one of the best right wing backs in this division, bar none. In fact, I don't know if there's anybody I'd rather have at right wing back. As a right back, I'm not convinced. I just think he's great going forward, and it's so simplistic to say, but his defensive brain doesn't always compute. I think he gets caught ball watching. He's often out of position, but the threat he offers you going forward is fantastic. So it's whether you're willing to take the risk. I would rather see us. I mean, the dream for me would be to put Ratsaki on that side, because I think Ratsaki sits him down and we're in, basically. But because I think Firpo's a more accomplished defender. But it's probably going to be Hamer. If it's not going to be Ratsaki, I'd switch Callum O'Hare and Hamer and have Hamer in the 10. And I'd go Callum O'Hare just to sort of be a little bit low centre of gravity, quick feet, chance that you win a few free kicks or get past him a little bit. Gus Hamer's a little bit more predictable, cuts onto his right, likes to have a shot from, not that he's, we love Gus, and I know you do too.
Got cracked.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Jayden Bogle's an interesting one, because we now operate in a back four, so I don't think he fits our system. And this sounds bitter, but and I don't mean it in that way, but I'd rather have Alfie Gilchrist in our system as a right back than Jayden Bogle as a right back. He's a permanent signing for you. He's a loan signing for us, Alfie. So I understand that, but I just think Alfie's a more solid defender, so it's a better option for us than Jayden Bogle in a back four.
Yeah, you're talking about fours there. The front four of Sheffield United's pretty accomplished, and it feels like there's a bit of a variance when it comes to, you can stick Ryan Brewster up there, which gives you maybe a little bit more pace. Obviously, you can have Kiefer Moore up there. I was surprised by his start, to be honest with you, for Ipswich. He was flying. I did say at the start of the season, because there's a couple of Leeds fans asking me, would you be happy with us signing? I did say at the start of the season, I wonder how he would be across a 46 game season. It doesn't feel like he's had that a lot. Probably similar to us with Joe Rothwell. Getting him in, it's very much like he's not had that sustained period of like long, 40 to 46 games. It's very, very different to coming in January. So, but it does feel the front four of Sheffield United, Jimmy. It's a pretty.
Yeah, I mean, Kiefer Moore's been a brilliant signing for us, and you're right. He's not. Yeah. He's more of an impact man that like you said, what came into Ipswich in January, did a brilliant job in terms of goals per minutes and helped get him over the line. He's our main striker now, and leading the line as one up front, as Joseph has found, it's quite difficult. As it's a big ask to hold the ball up, make centre halves uncomfortable, bring others into play. The only thing really that's let him down is his goal conversion, because everything else he does so well. And he's one of those that you love to see playing for your club, because he sticks his head in everywhere. He's running, chasing down. We've come from watching Ollie McBurney, who jogs about with his socks, around his ankles, and blowing after 20 minutes. Kiefer Moore is sprinting to the centre halves, putting them under pressure, high press straight away, no let up. Because there's so many teams that, as you'll have seen as well, play out front back now. As soon as you're into them, some of them look really shaky. So it's a high press that we like to operate, and behind him, then you've got Gus Hamer, Callum O'Hare, and Ratsaki. Oh mate, it's been brilliant. It's been brilliant.
Do you think you should, because you're thinking about it really, and you are thinking about that front four, and you're probably looking at. I think we've scored more goals, but obviously you've got a better defensive record. But you would be expecting, it's Ratsaki, Callum O'Hare, Gus Hamer, and one of the two up top, maybe to be getting more goals. A lot of it has been almost like old school, and it 1-0 to the Arsenal. It's been 1-0, 1-0, 1-0 sort of thing. Would you be expecting them to get maybe a few more goals in a little bit further on down the season?
Yeah, we would. I'd be. I mean, you always look at. I mean, we're getting the results, and we're not. Yeah. We don't need to be winning 3-4-0. That's the first thing that is an obvious statement to make. But you look at the performances as well. We should be winning these games 3 or 4. So you can either look at it as though you're worried that we're not converting chances, or someone's going to get a paste in at some stage. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think that'll be Friday night. I think Leeds are a bit too savvy for that. I don't fully expect us to go all out and attack you, but I think at some stage this season someone will get a pagger in, and we'll have a bit of a goal fest if we continue in this vein, because we are creating chances, we're just not finishing the chances. So yeah, it's not quite clicked into top gear yet, which is even more exciting for us as fans when we've got the most points accrued in the league without a 2-point deduction. So yeah, it's normally coming up to a game like this, I'd be ridiculously nervous, particularly because I live in Wakefield, so I'm a West Yorkshire blade. All my mates are Leeds, and it's an absolute nightmare. I'll go into work and people are always like, "Oh, here we go, all this stuff." So this is a big game for me personally, and I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. It's I'm excited for it.
Are you sort of like really? Are you really sort of like confident for this one then, Jim? Is that how you're feeling?
I'm not. I think a couple of things, in all honesty, and without bringing the conversation down, the thing that's happened over the past couple of weeks. I mean, we lost Johnny from Shore and View. We're a huge part of the Sheffield United community. We've lost George Baldock in last week, and I think that puts things into perspective a little bit. There's obviously a lot more to life than football. The other thing is as well, I've normally, I mean, I've watched you and Joe for years. It started in 18-19 season when we were neck and neck.
Yeah,
and I'd only watch you if you'd lost because I loved your reactions, because I loved the fact that you were so miserable. Sorry, it's petty, and I understand that, but it's how I got my kicks before I were ever on platform. So I used to watch that, and I just I've lost where I was going then, because I was gonna say something else, but all that time I always thought Leeds fans were entitled. And there's still a bit of that. I'm not going to sort of say I've completely switched around. And, you know, I think there's an aura about some Leeds fans that think we are a Premier League club in the Championship. We deserve to be in the Premier League. And I'm more one that you're there on merit.
Yeah.
Having said that, I watched a couple of your streams recently, and there's a little bit that appears to be a little bit of, there's not this big, we're Leeds, we're going to turn them over, we're at home, we should be beating them, all this sort of stuff. It seems like there's a bit of, not necessarily nerves, but certainly a bit more respect for what we're bringing, rather than an expectation that you're just going to roll us over. I know that on a lot of Leeds streams, it's, you know, we're going to go up automatic. Joe's a classic for it, isn't he? We're going to win league with record points and all this sort of thing. And
he said that. He said that for 7 years straight. I think he said that in the Premier League.
I know, and you've got to admire his passion, but it's delusion as well, because it's a tough league. It's a tough league, and you got 90 points last year, were it, and didn't go up. So you can never call what's going to happen. And I sort of felt like it were a little bit of, like I say, a little bit of respect coming our way, which I'm not used to. So whenever I got on one of these channels like yourself, never thought I'd get on such a huge platform as yours, Connor. But it's when I came on a platform like this, I thought I'm going to have to go for jugular, and tell them what I honestly think of Leeds fans. But I have to say, I've softened a little bit over the last week or so. So I don't hold that ferocity going into this fixture that I would have done normally, because I'm one of the worst ones for it. I want to smash Leeds, and I want to beat them, and because I've got group chats that tell me how great they are and how crap Leeds are, and Blunts versus Leeds and all this sort of stuff. And
so is it worse? Is Leeds worse for you than Wednesday then?
Yeah, it is for me personally. It's obviously I'm in the minority there. I'm in the minority, but because of my upbringing, because it was my dad that was from Sheffield, and he came over as a kid to West Yorkshire. So he was born in Sheffield, in Attercliffe, came over here, but I've always been brought up in West Yorkshire, so I've been a Wakey boy. So I'm surrounded by Leeds fans all the time, and for the majority of the time, been in your shadow a little bit. But then you had your little period in League One. We had our little period in League One, and we've not been on too different a trajectory over the last 20 years or so. So it's been really interesting and very fun, to be fair, to have that rivalry.
Well, I'd agree with that. I mean, my lifetime, I'm 31, and in my lifetime, I've not, like, you know, I get my old man on every now and again, and obviously when we won the league at your place and all this sort of stuff with Strachan on the advertising boards and all this, that's sort of his like era, and he's very much like, he's seen a lot of sort of success in that period. But for me, it's been, we've been through the Warnock days, of which we didn't really get near Sheffield United at that point, and there was points at which I think you come to Elland Road and hit us 4-0 and all this sort of stuff with Montgomery.
Yeah, we did.
All the gang there. So we've not had for years. Obviously, we were in the doldrums. We didn't really touch you, to be honest with you. And obviously, you had that period in League One, didn't you? And we did. But it's not been. I think this is why probably we're all maybe like United, excuse the sort of like phraseology there for this period. 'Cause honestly, mate, from 2017, it sounds like a little sob story here, but from like 2004 to 2017, 18, mate, we had nothing. There was nothing. And it'll have been great for you, but we had nothing. At least you had periods of hope and all this sort of stuff. It was dead at Leeds. So I think that's why it feels like right now we've got a bit of a confidence, and at last we're believing a little bit that we can be back at the top table. But I think maybe historically with Leeds, and I think you see it, with the amount we're in the Premier League and, was winning the first division, the top tier sort of relatively recently, I guess, when you look at sort of the last 40, 50 years. We're using that, mate. We're using that. So and I think as well, like the sort of shirt sales and all this sort of stuff. And I do think with Leeds, traditionally we probably are a Premier League club, but it's like you say, it's merit. It's merit. It means nothing. It means, and I think I know what you're saying about the ignorance and the arrogance, but I do think sometimes it gets misconstrued because I think we believe that we are because of what we've seen when we've grown up. But it's getting to that point of which now there's kids who've just never seen us like properly.
You're right. You're right. And it's how you've been brought up by the generation before you as well. To them, to your parents, your dad, he will be saying we were one of the biggest clubs in this country, and to him you still will be, and I think most people still view you as a very big club. There's no two ways about it. But you nailed it. 17 years, you won nothing. How many years have you spent in Premier League? It's very probably similar to us, not maybe 1 or 2 seasons more, but it's not loads. We're on a similar level at the moment. That don't mean that Sheffield United are just as big a club as Leeds. That don't mean that clubs like Bournemouth are bigger than either of us. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? It's one of those things that you have to sort of live in the moment as to where you are. And I don't get all this bigger club stuff. Wednesday will say because they've got a bigger ground, they're bigger than us, they're older than us, all this sort of rubbish. But they've never seen Premier League, so it's ridiculous, isn't it? Really, it's just. I like the fact that we're on a similar keel and we've had peaks and troughs, both clubs. I think we've been on a similar path, to be honest. We had the brilliant ride with Chris Wilde the first time round, hoping to obviously go for a second. You had Marcelo Bielsa, who changed the game completely and took football by storm. We've both had managers that people couldn't work out how to play against us. And sort of were the media darlings for a short period of time, and then it seemed like everybody wanted to pile on as soon as things started going wrong. So
it was quite similar, really. We are. It is very similar.
Like too many differences when you sort of talk about it sensibly with my red and white and your yellow and blue hat off. There's quite similar in some ways.
Yeah, it's true actually, because you can't see many teams going up now, can you? And in the first season doing what we did. Obviously, I think you finished 8th, didn't you? We finished 9th, and I think we
were 9th. We were 9th. Well, yeah. So there you go.
It was something like we finished on 59 points, and I think years afterwards you look at it and it's like, how are we not in Europe with that? It's unbelievable. It's and you think to yourself, like, I can't see many teams just coming up. You look at your Ipswiches now who are probably of that similar vein, sort of a little bit of a maverick coach has come in, got them playing with lesser parts than other teams in the division, i.e. last season, us, Leicester at points, Southampton, got them up against the sort of grain, really, and you can't really see Ipswich doing what we did. It was completely unique, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was lightning in a bottle, really. It's you got to learn to enjoy them times, aren't you? So it's I'm just hoping
Jack O'Connor left, mate, wasn't it? And that's where it all went down. Like as soon as he got injured.
What a play! I know. It's amazing, though, isn't it? How one thing can spark your downfall, really. So I thought I were hoping the same might happen to Leeds when Somerville went and Archie Gray went, but it seems like you're hanging fire for now, aren't you? So we'll see.
Well, I think that's probably the good thing as well. Like I think it's been pretty impressive. I mean, we're not done anything yet, obviously, but it's always quite nice because I felt, and I've said it on a stream as well. Look, we were the favourites last year. Understand it well. So we were one of the maybe top 2, top 3. Leicester had a phenomenal squad.
Yeah, they did.
Jim, in this level, at this level,
Ridiculous.
unbelievable squad.
Cheating, weren't it, really?
Yeah, and to say I don't know, I did feel like with Rutter and Somerville, they did obviously they came down with us, but they weren't great in the Premier League, mate. They weren't great. They were kids and they were getting hammered a lot. So they came down to the Championship. They then evolved in the Championship, but that Leicester team had proven Premier League players who came down and were top by Southampton, very, very similar. So I felt we were at a little bit of a disadvantage, obviously, similar to you guys. We had loads of players going out at the start of the season, first teamers as well. So it was still a little bit of a rebuild. So look, we didn't go up, of course, but I think it's still reasonably impressive that the three teams that have come down somehow we're still classified as the favourites, you know, and that's I don't think we are, but I do look at where we're going, Jim, and I'm looking at the development of the squad. I'm looking at the fixtures we've had. There's an argument that maybe we've had tougher fixtures than you guys, and we can have a conversation.
You have, mate. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I'm not going to skirt around that. We've had a favourable fixture list, which is played into our hands beautifully because we've got a new squad that's gelling together. I think it's 8 new faces for the majority of games. And to have I don't mean to be disrespectful to any club by saying that, but we've not faced, I mean, Luton was our latest game, but we've hit them at a good time as well. Beat them 2-0 at home. They're in a poor run of form. Now we've got you away, followed by Borough away on Wednesday. And you think those two back to back, this will show our minerals, really. This will show what we're made of. And are we going to put a marker down and say, yeah, we're challenging for title in this league? Or are we just going to be in and amongst? Like, you will obviously be wanting to slow us down and catch us up. Do we go 6 points clear of you already if we beat you tomorrow night?
This is what I'm worried about, Jim, because if you beat us and Sunderland get a win at the weekend, and that's like the most negative way of looking at it, but you've watched my channel for long enough, mate, that I do see myself as the realist.
Mate. That's what you are, mate. I love that.
But if that does happen, which is a scenario, obviously, I think Sunderland have got a decent fixture at the weekend. I do see that as a bit of a problem because it just got to a point of which last season where we had to put a bit of a run together, which you might remember. I mean, Leeds went about 11 games. They won about 11 games on the bounce or something. So you don't want to get to that period where you're having to do that again. However, what I will say is, yeah, like you said about your tough run coming now. I mean, mate, to be honest, we've played, and I know we didn't win them, but we had Norwich. And you know what that drive's like, mate, especially in Wakefield, down to Norwich, and then all the way up to Sunderland within 3 days. And to be honest, you're looking at it and you're thinking, injury depleted, 2 defensive midfielders out. You're thinking, look, we're gonna take one here. And Sunderland started that game, and you were thinking, look, they're gonna get a few.
They look good, didn't they? They look good at start.
They are, mate. They are. They're a good team. They're a good team. This is what I mean. Like Sunderland away. I think you played Norwich already away, haven't you? Got a point like we did.
Yeah, we've got a point.
We've got sort of a favourable run in. It feels sort of like late October, early November, leading into December, whereas you guys have got maybe a little bit of a difficult run in there. So I guess that separates it, doesn't it? And the thing is, you've got to win those easy games, Jim, because last season we went games. You're dropping points to Wednesday, dropping points to Birmingham, dropping points to Rotherham. You got to win those games.
Yeah, you have. You've got to put them to bed, haven't you, and play what's in front of you. It's a tricky one. I was going to ask you, how did you get on at Sunderland? I didn't catch last couple of minutes, so I don't know how it finished.
2-1 win, mate. Yeah, we're not far off, you know.
Good. Thank God, because it looked safe as houses. That
was. I honestly, someone put out on. It's a good account I follow on Twitter. He's a Leeds fan. And he put out. He'd seen it like it was about 6 hours ago. Actually, just when I woke up this morning, he just put, and he barely tweets, but when he tweets, it's gold. And he just put, I'm still not fucking over this. Just taking his foot off the ball, and it's just like it's just hilarious. Mate, it took me to. I genuinely think it's just the back end of this. Like last 2 or 3 days, I think I'm looking at it, I'm like, right, I think I'm all right now. I think I'm all right. It's been 10 days, mate. I can't watch the game back again.
I have to say, I think that feeds into my confidence. Michael Cooper, what a signing he's been.
At 2 million.
I think he's best in league person. I know Farke disagrees.
No. Don't bloody compare him to Mellier. He's better than Mellier.
I thought you were best in league according to Farke. But I think having a keeper behind you that you're confident in, that bleeds that confidence into your defence. That, I mean, we've had 6 clean sheets on spin. It's unreal, really. So
I am a
goals
bit of
conceded all season.
Jim, I do push back a little bit on the clean sheets thing for me. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to this save percentage and goals prevented. That's how I feel, and it's a new thing in my head. But
Go on then.
that's how
Go on then.
I feel. I feel you
I'll listen
judge
to
it.
this.
Yeah, so the clean sheets for me, to be fair, dependent on, I can't profess to have watched Sheffield United week in, week out, but with Leeds, you dominate the ball so much and we camp in the opposition's half so much that Meslier really doesn't have that much to do. There's been times this season where I think it's been over sort of 2 or 3 games, he's faced about 4 or 5 shots. So for me, and then that classifies as a clean sheet. Like Coventry, he didn't have anything to do. We just mauled them. You know, they couldn't get in our half. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, is that classified as a good performance for Eli Meslier? Because for me, if he's getting peppered, then I understand it. But I think there's a lot of context behind clean sheets. When you're looking at save percentage, I'm like, oh, he's facing shots here and his save percentage is in the upper echelon. You know, his goal prevention is in the positives instead of the minuses, which it is now after Sunderland. So, yeah, mate. I mean, it's probably a good bit to touch on there. You know, you're just talking about Cooper and obviously we've got Meslier, but we were having a bit of a laugh the other night on the debrief and we're saying every team right now, you know, you look at Scotty Parker and he builds sort of like a system. It's passing out from the back, it's hitting on the counter attack, and he won't deviate away from that, you know, away at some of the big teams. I think Wilder, very much of the Warnocks, will almost throw a game plan out the window and he'll go,
I agree.
Stick that ball on that goalkeeper, like with the greatest respect, because you'd say it's Saturday or Sunday league, but Saturday and Sunday league tactics have been the foundation and the fulcrum of English football for many a year, and you just put the ball on the goalkeeper. And do you expect Wilder to be saying that sort of in the
100%? I do. Get Kiefer Moore sat on Illan Meslier. I know you sort of touched on. So you kindly did a preview for us that I played out on Ramble yesterday, and you thought maybe us going with Brewster might be a smart move because if you dominate the ball, we're looking to counter. It'll be Kiefer Moore. I'm almost positive because he will be that presence in and around the box that we're looking to make Meslier nervous. We're looking to pepper that box. Have a shot. Just shoot, Gus. Just have a shot. Just see what happens. First 5-10 minutes. He could drop one. He could save one. And you talked about your save percentage. It's a fair point, mate, in terms of what Michael Cooper's faced or hasn't faced yet this season, to be fair. What I can say is when he's been called upon, and he has on a couple of occasions, he has massively pulled it out of the bag. So there's been a couple of like last-minute things where he's just got an hand to it or he's tipped something over at bar and he's got us a couple of points or he's got us a point. And I think sometimes having the concentration levels to still be switched on and alert when you're not as involved is just as important. And whether it's a 7 out of 10 for Cooper or an 8 out of 10 for him or whatever, it's same for Meslier, the fact that you've got a clean sheet starts to build confidence in the defence, I think, in terms of your mindset. You know, we're limiting them because the defence aren't letting them through. So it's whichever way you want to look at it, and I'm sure that's the way we'll be spinning it anyway. And look, tomorrow night it might be out at Winder, it might be 2-2 or whatever. I don't think it will be. I think it'll be a goal either way, to be honest. But
would you take a draw, Jimmy?
Oh, 100%.
You'd take a draw? Yeah.
I'd take a draw. I think if you were coming to Bramall Lane now, you'd probably set same. Yeah. I think it's. Of course. I'd snap your hand off for a draw, to be honest. So,
yeah, it's been. I think, which I think the worry for a lot of Leeds fans is, I mean, Solomon's back, Dan James is back, which is big news for us. I think the one thing we're all a little bit worried about is we've got this new midfield partnership. Tanaka, who's a lovely footballer. He's very, just one of these luxury players, Jimmy, where you'll see him on the ball and you'll think, yeah, he just almost slaloms through midfield. He's just a lovely player. Nothing seems to bother him. He's press resistant as well, Jimmy, which I think is huge, against good sides in this division. You press upon him, he can deal with it. And we've got Joe Rothwell in there as well, who I was sort of a big backer of, and he's doing well. But I think we've got a little bit of a collective problem that 2 of the defensive midfielders are out. You look at your sort of midfield 2, and you got Arblaster and Sousa in there. There seems to be quite a nice balance there. I don't really know if there's a balance there, to be honest. Job was getting in behind them quite a bit for Sunderland. And I do wonder if, especially with Callum O'Hare, if he's just going to start picking that ball up in that central space and maybe just sort of drifting a little bit. But it's actually funny, that word drifting, isn't it? Because Callum O'Hare's had that attributed to his game a little bit. He drifts in and out of games. Have you seen that a little bit this season, or is it
100%? Yeah, I think, to be honest, and it's the I mean this, I don't mean to be super critical of him, but he's probably been one of the few letdowns a little bit, and I say that very sort of loosely, but we expected a lot from him.
Weird voice, by the way. I thought he was from Coventry. Why does he sound like he's from London? Have you seen that on his TikToks? It's a bit weird, isn't it?
I've seen it, bruv. I've seen it. Yeah, it's one of them. So it's each to their own, innit? If he does the business on the pitch, I'm not bothered. But he he does go missing in games, and that's fair to say. He has always got that spark, and I think when you've got a flair player like that, you can forgive it. You can forgive him going missing for 30 minutes if he's a catalyst for a shot on target or obviously a goal is what you're after. So yeah, it's I'm hoping to see more from Callum O'Hare. I think we've sort of sacrificed Gus Hamer a little bit to allow O'Hare in the 10. So I'd maybe switch it up a little bit. Callum O'Hare played in out wide left against Luton at times and looked okay. So
got to get Hamer in that 10, haven't you? You got to get Hamer in that 10, Jim.
Mate,
you've got to get him in there.
Mate, you play your strongest players in the strongest position, and this is what I would throw back to you, the same concerns that you're putting to me. Like if Solomon's back, that says to me that Nonto's going to be in the 10, because I know there's been a sort of he can play all across the front three, can't he, Nonto? But in the 10 is where he's probably most dangerous because he can go either side, and you're right in the middle of the attacking zone. So I worry slightly. How are we going to counter that? How are we going to put Vinny Souza doing a man job? Because I don't think he's athletic enough in terms of Nonto's low centre of gravity. I think he'll be able to get around Souza. We can't sacrifice our blaster because he's part of our transitional play. He will be the one that takes it on the half turn and gets us going. So maybe there's a spanner thrown, it works, and Shackleton comes on to do a job on Nonto, just that sort of thing. I don't think that'll happen.
I'll take that, Jim. I'll take that.
I know you would. I know you would. But he's to be fair, he's looked solid for us. He's not going to be a starter. He's a squad man, and I think he did a similar job for you guys. But going back to Ellen Road, there's always that sort of X factor of how we're thinking. Same with Bogle. How's Bogle going to play against Sheffield United? Is he going to play out of his skin, or is he going to go into himself a little bit? Chances are he plays out of his skin. So, yeah, it's some exciting battles all over pitch, mate, to be honest.
Well, that's it. Yeah, there's a lot of good players, especially championship level. Solomon's a bit of a key man, really, of which obviously we've got on loan, paying a lot per week, Jim, for him. I'll be honest with you. And it's
is he fit though? Is he fit to start?
Wilder said he's back and he's ready. So I'm sort of looking at that and thinking, right, well, does that mean he's fit? I'm not 100% sure, but so my question is, does he even get in? You know, there's an argument for this game for me. Aronson's played for the US, I think yesterday morning. He played 93 minutes. Pochettino not doing us a favour there, but we have got options, Jim. I'll be honest. That attacking four. I mean, you look at another one that we've not really mentioned is Ramazani, who's looked frighteningly quick and frighteningly good as well. So you've got like quite a nice balance on either side, on the left and the right. You've got Ramazani there, and you've got Nonto, who for me, I'm trying not to be arrogant here and look, watch, he'll go missing, won't he, on Friday night? But for me, I don't normally say this a lot. I definitely didn't say it last season to the best player, but I do think he's the best player in the league. I think he's frighteningly good when he's on form. So I think we're actually playing him in his worst position right now, outright, and he's still doing well. You know, you put him on the left where he can cut inside, centrally. You know, he's very, very, very effective. So, and then we've got the conversation of Joel Peru. You know, is it going to be Peru? Is it going to be Joseph? I think for you, I'll be honest, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I think if he starts Peru, I think it's going to be. I think Sheffield United, Harry Suter or Anel are going to be all right with him. I think. I'm predicting, I think in this game, and I don't like saying this, but I think he might go missing in this game. And I think that's why you start Joseph a little bit, because I think he's more of an all-rounder. And I think maybe Leeds fans are dismissing him because he's not on that same goal tally. And it's similar to what we're talking about with Kiefer Moore there, Jim. He's doing everything but putting the ball in the back of the net. And I think that's underrated nowadays because system's prevalent in it. The system's top of the tree. You know, if you're a system-based player, you're
100%.
starting, and Peru's not that, but he's a moments player. And I think for a game like this, I'd rather have an all-round player because I think he's going to be more effective. And I'll be honest, mate, Joseph's gone away and got hat-trick for Spain, you know, and he just keeps doing it for his country. So I don't know. I mean, I'd be going with him. But what are your thoughts on, you know, sort of like Ramazani, your Peru, Aronson, Nonso, you know, Solomon, James? It's a stacked sort of option base, isn't it? Really.
It is, and it's deeper than ours. There's no two ways about it. But I look at our starting three, which I think it will be with Raksaki, O'Hare, and Hamer. I don't feel inferior. I'm not saying you won't swap Nonso in there. Of course you would. Yeah. I think there's threats in both attacks. That's clear to see. I'm same with you. I think Pirou doesn't have to score as long as he's involved and he's part of the attacking movement and build up and leads to chance creation. We're winning games. I don't need Kiefer Moore to score. It don't bother me. He can finish season on 3 goals for me as long as we're in top 2 come end of season. So,
but what would if you had something similar, Jimmy? Like, this is interesting actually because Brewster's obviously not doing it. You know, Kiefer Moore's starting, but Brewster's not exactly coming on and tearing it apart, mate. When we've had Peru coming on bench and when he started as well, I think he's on 5-6 goals and Joseph's on 1. So if you're looking at that, I mean, what would you be doing? Would you be, because like I said, you can't have this conversation with Brewster and Moore really because Brewster's not doing it like Peru's doing it. So that's a difficult conversation, isn't it?
Well, I would do what we've been doing, to be honest, and that would be to start Kiefer Moore. And then if he starts flagging, which I don't think he will, but what he's tended to do is when our sort of players that play in bursts like Callum O'Hare, he'll bring Callum O'Hare off and bring Brewster on. And Brewster will maybe operate in the 10, and then he'll maybe plays a little bit closer to Kiefer Moore, but not too much. Depends how the game's going. We can be fluid like that, but we've also got Andre Brooks to bring on. So for me, if Raksaki hasn't tired Firpo out by 70 minutes, you don't want Andre Brooks coming on because he's a very similar player. He's certainly a lot more raw. He's not the finished article, but he can go either side. He's cutting in quite well now and sort of coming in off that. I'd like to see him on the left-hand side against Bogle because he can run up the defender. So we've got some options. Tyrese Campbell has got fit again now, looked sharp again. He scored a few goals in under 21s while he's trying to get his fitness back. So we've got some options. This is where under those players that we've mentioned now, we haven't got much else. So that's where we start to drop off a little bit. But I think it's enough. We've still got 2 loan spots available. So if we can get to January and we've still got the majority of those players fit, then I think we'll still be in and around it, to be honest.
Yeah. Are you seeing anyone else as a threat in this division? Obviously, Burnley are there, aren't they? Luton, I don't know, they might have a better second half to the season. Sunderland are looking. I think Sunderland.
I worry about Sunderland. I worry about. I'm not so bothered about Burnley. I think they're going to be a good, strong side this season, but I don't think
Norwich a bit of an outsider as well, Jim. Norwich a bit of an outsider.
Yeah, maybe so. I think it wouldn't surprise me to see Norwich make playoffs. I think Burnley will probably end up in playoffs, but Luton may have left themselves a little bit too much to do. I think Sunderland are going to be a big test. I think it may well be a bit of a 3-way so far. And I'm not saying it'll be like this for the end of the season. Obviously, there'll be peaks and troughs all the way through. But at the minute, if you're asking me for me 2 biggest rivals for promotion in this league, it'd be Leeds and Sunderland. Because I think Sunderland have got staying power. I like the coach. I know you were linked with him, weren't you, Labrie, at one point? And done a fantastic job there. Lost Jack Clark and don't look like they've missed a beat. Him that's come in on left wing looks like for like that. I can't remember what it's called. But it's Manduki or something. But really good player. And yeah, doing well. So yeah, a draw's not a bad result. Particularly when you beat them 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1. We did, didn't we? But in a strange sort of way, I did look at that, and it bred a lot of confidence, to be honest. Aside from the gaff at the end, I did think, for 75 minutes, maybe even more. I mean, Sunderland fans were saying it as well. They're just saying, Leeds were almost the quickest team that they'd seen. They said, you know, they were buzzing at the end with the draw, obviously, like you would be, but yeah, it felt like we went there and we took them apart a little bit. To be honest, Jim,
it's a
we were
great result, especially after that first 10 minutes. They looked like they were going to be out of sight, and to hold on and then turn the key on them a little bit. I thought it were a very good performance. But does it worry you, the mentality a little bit in terms? I don't mean overall. I just mean sort of the reaction to Mellier's clanger, Firpo storming down tunnel, and all this sort of thing. He thought he got the winner, and does it worry you that there's a little bit of discontent, or do you think they'll have been able to patch things up over international break?
To be honest, mate, I love that. I mean, you'll have played. I don't know what standard of football you've played, but I was, as you can probably tell by what I'm like on here, I was the right moody git, and I am competitive. I'm very competitive. So if that had happened to me, and let's say, you know, you were playing Sheffield United or I was playing for Leeds United, my club, and obviously that's a similar thing with Firpo, but even if I was playing for another club and that happened in the last minute, I love that about football, man. I don't understand what's happened with football. Why can you not be pissed off with him? I'd be going down, I'd be smashing up everything. And then, you know, sort of 2 or 3 down, you know, maybe on the coach back or whatever, I'd still be in a mood, but you'd patch it up and all that sort of stuff. But I've been having murders with Leeds fans. I can't understand the mentality of going. Someone said online, mate, they said, Firpo's a you-know-what for not going up and cuddling Meslier and giving him a pat on the back. That's mind my language, but fuck off. I'd be storming down that. I'd be the exact same.
Yeah, there's an argument to say you'd be more annoyed if he weren't bothered. Do you know what I mean? What if he's putting his arm around him saying, it's all right, don't worry about it. What do you mean it's all right? It's not all right. We're trying to get promoted out of this league.
And it shows he cares as well, Jim. It shows he cares as well. You know, it's not this whole oh, I'm not bothered, you know. And I just think it's been lost from football, mate. I mean, you'll see us playing you on tomorrow night, and you'll see everyone you know, you're lining up at Ellen Road, and they'll all be, you know, hugs, pals, and all that. And I sound like a bit of an old man here, but oh, hi, you know, Hamer will know, you know, the Bogle, they'll be shaking hands, and giving each other hugs, and you do look at that. Going back in the day when it was, you know, it was Keane and Haaland and it was, you know, Neville and Schmeichel.
Gary Neville once speak to his own brother when he played for Everton. And it's like, it's crazy how things have changed. But I remember Wilder often talks about it. In that season, that 18-19 season, we played Aston Villa and we were 3-0 up on 81 minutes. And we threw 3 goals away. Absolutely threw them in. I think Dean Henderson error in one of them, which was rare, but he does have that in his locker. And the aftermath of that, we went on a fantastic run of form. And Wilder came out afterwards and he basically said, look, I left them to police that dressing room themselves. And there were more than harsh words said. Basically, they were fighting in lumps inside the changing room because they cared. They cared about what were happening. We were trying to catch you. We were trying to catch Norwich. And that brought them together as a team. So it's stranger things have happened than things going wrong on the pitch and then it actually having a positive effect going forward because you come together and unite under one sort of push, if you like. So, yeah, let's hope that don't happen for you guys tomorrow night and we can come and turn you over.
Yeah, can't be affording any of that as well. We don't want any more Bashams or anything like that as well. But like I said, Jim, we've had the last 3 out of 4 wins, mate. So
would you one? Would you one then?
You one. But yeah, I think it's going to be close, mate. But we've been waffling for around about an hour, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I've loved it. It was supposed to only be 20 minutes, Jim. But yeah, maybe we can do this post game. It looks like loads of people have been interested as well. If you are not, make sure you go check out Blades Ramble. I said it to you at the start, but there's nearly 1,000 of you in the building right now. Make sure you go and check Jim's channel out, up and coming Sheffield fan channel. And he's doing really well for himself. And he's looking to make this a big part of his life as well. So make sure you do that, everybody. Jim, where can they find you on socials, mate?
Blades Ramble. Just search for me anywhere on Blades Ramble and you'll find me. This tends to happen, mate. I plan a 20-minute stream and it's named The Ramble for a reason. We just waffle on about football, don't we? Because we love it. So, yeah, thank you for the opportunity to come on, mate. And I normally say finish off with something like best of luck for season, but you know, I can't bring myself to say it. If I'm honest.
You live in Wakefield and you're a Sheffield United fan. I know you don't mean that.
I don't mean it. So I'm not going to say it. So.
What's your score prediction anyway, mate? I've not asked you.
I'm going 1-0 Blades, but I'll take a 0-0 right now. Keep that clean sheet intact.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm going 1-0. I think, like you say, I think you bang on. I think it'll be 1-0 either way. But yeah, we'll leave it there, mate. Guys, make sure you liking the video before you leave as well. Tune in tomorrow for the watch on and all the good bits, and we'll try get Jim on maybe post match. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you in a bit. Cheers.
Cheers.